If your names are Valentino and Angelica, and you live in Paris, France, or your names are Michelle and Paul, and you live in Paris, this might be a fun book for you. It's an I Can Read book that's just right for young readers, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, somewhere in there. If you can read each of these pages and know all but maybe one or two of the words, this is a just right book for you. And it's a fun story. Fancy Nancy and the Boy from Paris. The introduction says, there's a new boy in school and he's from Paris. Nancy cannot believe her luck, but this Parisian may not be as fancy as Nancy expects. The book was written by Jane O'Connor. The cover illustration was done by Robin Pris Glasser, and the drawings on the inside, those illustrations, were done by Ted Enik. And the story begins. I almost always get to school early, but on Monday I am tardy. That's a fancy word for late. I come in and I see a new kid. He is standing next to Ms. Glass. Robert comes from Paris, Ms. Glass is telling everyone. He just moved here. Paris? Paris is a city in France. It is gorgeous. That's a fancy word for beautiful. Bonjour, I say in the book nook. In French, that means hello. I am Nancy. I never met anybody from Paris before. I speak slowly so he will understand. It's really nice there, Robert says. I miss it. He has a book on cowboys. He probably wants to learn all about this country. I want to go there someday. I show him my book. It is about a dog in Paris, Fifi. Do you like the United States? Yes, says Robert, don't you? Yes, I do, I say. I've lived here all my life. Then Ms. Glass puts a finger to her mouth. This is not talking time, she says. This is reading time. On Tuesday, I sit next to Robert at lunch. Have you ever been to the Eiffel Tower? I ask him. Robert nods and swallows. Lots of times. Our house was near it. I tell Robert, I know about the Eiffel Tower. There's a poster of it in my room. I know lots about Paris. I share some of my lunch. These are donut holes, I say. Robert gives me a funny look. I know that. I have eaten donut holes before. That night, I tell my mom and dad about Robert. He is very nice. He already speaks English. I want to be his friend. How do you say friend in French? The word is ami, my mom says. You say it like this, ami. I love French. Everything sounds so fancy. Why don't you ask him over to play? My dad says. So the next day I do. We can play soccer. Did you play soccer in Paris? Sure, all the time, Robert says. I am a good kicker. I can come on Friday. On Thursday, it is show and share. Robert brings in a toy horse. It is brown and white. My grandpa has a horse like this. Then I found a photo. I miss her a lot. Her name is Belle. In French, that means beautiful. Belle, myself. Now I know another French word. On Friday, Mom is at work. Mrs. Devine picks us up from school. Mrs. Devine lives next door, I tell Robert. Robert is from Paris, I tell Mrs. Devine. At home, we make a tent in the yard. We pretend bears are outside. We pretend to be terrified. That's a fancy word for scared. Then we play soccer. We let my little sister play too. Robert is a great kicker. My dog runs around the yard. That's Frenchie, I tell Robert. She is not really French, but you will like her anyway. We go inside, and I show Robert my room. See, there's the Eiffel Tower, I say. Yes, says Robert, but that one does not have a cowboy hat on it. That Eiffel Tower is in Paris, France. It is taller, and it is more famous. But we have an Eiffel Tower, too. Our Eiffel Tower has a cowboy hat on the top. Wait a minute. I am very perplexed. That's a fancy word for mixed up. But you're from Paris, France, I say. Aren't you? No, I am from Texas. Paris, Texas, Robert says. Ms. Glass told everybody that the first day. Robert shows me Paris, Texas on my globe. The end. Fancy Nancy made a list of the fancy words she used in this book. The first three are French. Ami means friend. Belle means beautiful. Bonjour means hello. And then her English words are gorgeous, fancy word for beautiful. Perplexed, fancy word for mixed up. Tardy, fancy word for late. And finally, terrified, fancy word for scared. If you like the Fancy Nancy stories, there are more of them. You can find them. And here are some of the other stories in the I Can Read series. The Danny and the Dinosaur, Morris Goes to School, Harry and the Lady Next Door. There are lots of fun ones. On the left here, you see a picture of the Eiffel Tower that you can find in Paris, Texas. Paris, Texas is just north and a little east of Dallas, close to the Oklahoma and Arkansas borders, and this Eiffel Tower is 65 feet tall. In Paris, Michigan, part of Green Township, you can also find an Eiffel Tower park. It is only 20 feet tall. The Eiffel Tower in Paris, France is 1,000 feet tall. And you can see it really is a red cowboy hat, a Stetson cowboy hat, at the top of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, Texas. Some stories you'll read are all about mistaken identities. This story was about a mistaken location. The story has been Fancy Nancy and the Boy from Paris.